Okay, everyone, we're up here at Hyde Park, New York, upstate New York. An hour and a half to 2 hours away from New York City. We are going to visit today the Franklin Delano Roosevelt estate, where President Roosevelt lived, and his museum and presidential library. This is a little different. I hope you guys enjoy it. This whole area here is the land. That's the museum and presidential library, and behind that is the house. We'll do the house first and then do this building second or third, and second we'll do his burial place and rose garden and so forth and so on. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you very much. See you on the other side. We are here in Hyde Park, New York, and we're going to be doing a tour of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's house as soon as the tour guide gets here, and we're going to check out the inside and see a little bit of history and listen to a couple stories. This is a little different for me. I did Lincoln's house, I think, a long time ago, but hopefully you guys will enjoy this. The mansion for President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt. This is the presidential flag and the American flag. See you in a few.
Now originally it was clapboard, but now it's been stuccoed. But the original center part of this house dates to the early 1800s. We don't have an exact date because the county records building burned down a long time ago, and so we don't really know the first year it was built. But best estimate is very early 1800s. So what happens is by 1915 it's too crowded. You know, it's Sarah's home, but this is where Franklin and Eleanor always came when they could. So they get married in 1905. Her maiden name is Anna Eleanor Roosevelt, which I suppose makes her married name Anna Eleanor Roosevelt. She is his fifth cousin once removed. She is the daughter of Elliot Roosevelt, who was Theodore Roosevelt's younger brother. So Franklin Roosevelt and Theodore Roosevelt are fifth cousins, and Eleanor is a fifth cousin once removed. Now, of course, the Theodore Roosevelt side of the family are Republican, this side of the family are Democrats. They live in Oyster Bay, we live up here. They know each other. And in fact, Franklin and Eleanor knew each other as toddlers, and on and on. And also, Elliot Roosevelt is one of Franklin Roosevelt's godfathers. And if he hadn't died when Eleanor was a child, when she was 10, also would have been Franklin's father-in-law. So it makes it all very confusing. Anyway, married in 1905. There are 6 kids in 10 years. First a daughter, then 5 sons. One of the sons died as an infant. By 1915, Roosevelt, let me get the sun come out, I should have gone under the tree. By 1915, Roosevelt is Assistant Secretary of the Navy, which is the very same position his cousin Theodore held, and the very same position his cousin Theodore used to get into national prominence and ultimately become president, and FDR thinks he's going to do the very same thing. So the house isn't big enough, the house isn't grand enough. So FDR never thinks that what he ought to do is just move out and find his own place. Just convinces his mother to expand the house. And that's what they do in 1915. So they add the 2 stone wings that are on either end. So the stone wing on my left, your right, on the second floor has room for 9 house servants and 3 visiting servants. On the first floor it has the kitchen, the butler's pantry, dining room for the servants, some other rooms serve the house. And then where the bell is, there's another entry into the house. There's a reception area, and then there's a room that Roosevelt used as an office. And in fact, that's where he and Winston Churchill sat and agreed to develop the atomic bomb and cooperate with whatever resources they had signed off on their memorandum of understanding. It's also where they agreed on the Lend-Lease program. Then on the other side, on the second floor, you have 2 master bedrooms, each with its own bath. On the front of the house for Sarah, on the back of the house for Franklin and Eleanor. Then the first floor, the entire first floor is the living room, library kind of room, main room in the house. Raised the roof, put in bedrooms, playroom, nursery for the kids, stuccoed the place. And when they got all done in 1916, they now had a house with 35 rooms and 9.5 baths. And as you see, the house on the outside is the way it's looked since 1916, when all that was finished. The way you're about to see the house on the inside is the way it looked in March of 1945. And that's because that's the last time Roosevelt was here. So he left the house to the Park Service. He left the proviso his wife or kids could have life estates. Well, nobody wanted the house. Nobody could afford the house. So the Park Service got full title just a few months after his death, open to the public exactly 1 year to the date of his death. On that day, President Truman is here to give the dedication. Eleanor Roosevelt is here to give the first tour. The line starts here at these steps, goes out to Route 9. And been open more or less ever since. So essentially everything in this house is original. Now surfaces that we walk on are not original. Some of the wallpaper has been replaced. But other than that, basically if you see it in this house, it was in this house in March of 1945. Now there's stuff that's not here, but there's nothing that's been brought in. And most of the stuff, almost all of it, is in exactly the same position it was March of 1945. And that's because that's the way Roosevelt wanted it. He left instructions when he gave this to the Park Service that he wanted it left just like it was the last time he was here. And that's March of 45. So we got some rules. Just don't touch anything. Okay? Don't lean up against anything. The only thing you can hang on to is the banister when you go upstairs. You can take pictures as long as you know how to keep your flash off. So no flash photography, and that's because light ruins things. Also, of course, no food, no drink, no chewing gum, all that kind of good stuff. If anybody needs to, we do have the FDR Memorial Wastebasket up by the door. But if you have water bottles or something, you can take them in as long as they stay closed. So as long as the cap stays on them, you can bring them in. So the way the tour works is we go in on the first floor, look around, ask me any questions you might have as to what you're seeing. After you've had a chance to look around, we'll gather near the staircase, talk a little more Roosevelt history, and then because you're a large group, that'll be the end of the formal tour. And at that point, we'll break in half, send half of you upstairs, wait a little bit so the space can clear, send the other half upstairs. And the exit's the staircase out the back of the house from the second floor, so we're not going to be coming back down to the first floor. So as we go in, I need to see your tickets. I don't collect them, but I need to see them. It helps if everybody holds their own ticket. And I'm supposed to count to see how many people I have.
Okay guys, we did something a little different today for you. This is the Franklin Delano Roosevelt house in Hyde Park, New York. And we're going to take a tour of the mansion and listen to the details that the park ranger is giving us. So with that said, we're going to go in.
I'm not bothered.
Courtney, you got your ticket?
Yeah. What's that?
Okay.
We didn't lose them yet.
Many times have you been? Wait. It's short.
Just about.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
Thank you.
15, 16, 17, 18. This is nice.
Okay, so this is inside the mansion. I'm gonna wait for him to start talking to check the stuff out.
Eleanor, yeah.
I want to check that for him. This looks like it was a living room area. There's a piano there. As you heard, he said President Roosevelt wanted the house left intact. And all of this stuff is intact from 1945. It's amazing. Chandeliers were with candles instead of glass bulbs.
A couple months into his fourth term.
Okay.
And because they changed the date, so when Roosevelt first was elected, the swearing in was March, and then they changed it to January. So he really didn't serve just a month more than 12 years. He moved around 4 times. Some of them predate him.
Okay, this is the dining room, it looks like. And it looks like they had a dining room for the servants probably over there. China closet. Portrait.
This is his temple. And his German cabinets.
Let's see, they left everything intact before he. Yeah. It's too dark for that to be read. And the guy told us the whole story. The food is not real. That's not from 1945. Deviled eggs. I could use a deviled egg right around now. But anyway.
The wood is original. This is a copy of the rug that was here. The wood
This looks like an old-fashioned phone.
1915 when they totally released the house. Although some of it may date all the way back
Hello?
to the
Is the magisterial one there? Oh well. Anyway, I thought this would be cool for you guys to see some of the original furniture. Beautiful grandfather clock.
So in there is a TV that's our serial number 7, RCA television. This is his father, his mother.
The TV show a reverse image?
Yeah, but
Go with the mirror?
well, yeah, it mirrors up, and that's because in the 30s they didn't know whether the tube
Roosevelt's father.
emitted too much radiation or not. So you don't look at the tube, you look at the mirror.
Oh, really?
That's there, yes.
Alright.
So that's
I think we're gonna go around.
Is there any art of significance?
Yes, his oldest son, James, was in the LA area and was elected to Congress 6 times. So, yeah, no district in that area. Also, I guess the governor.
This thing looks cool.
Board games. I remember that. That's sad.
Looks familiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so as stated by the park ranger, this is one of the rooms that they added when him and Eleanor moved out here with Sarah, which I believe was his daughter. And there he is. Well, yeah. And there's one of his wheelchairs because he had polio. I see a lot of little chairs. Anyway, let's go to the next room. This is his mother. President Roosevelt's mother. And the other guy on the other side was his dad.
Because when 30 minutes had expired, they shut the door to the dining room. And if you weren't there, you had to go upstairs to the third floor. And what you got that night,
it's okay.
There were a variety of other Chinese objects in the house. In the main room, you might have noticed a big Chinese bowl. That was Sarah's bathtub where she was visiting Chinese with her parents. So this room is, I mean, got the main room.
Hold on. What? It's a little dark in here, but this is called the snuggery. I guess there's a little room where they used to chill out. There's a little desk there, fireplace. Cyrus's mother, sorry, I got that wrong early on. Okay. All authentic furniture and stuff in this house.
And so the rest of them in short order are all stuff by the professionals. But he had the largest collection of birds in this part of New York State of anybody. This is some of them. Some of them are still on display in the Museum of Natural History. He also collected pictures of Navy ships. And they say he was what he was trying to do is get a picture of every ship that had ever been in the U.S. Navy. We don't know whether he did or didn't. What we do know, there are about 2,400 of them. They're all over the house, but most are in storage. He also collected political cartoons. And these are some of the political cartoons. Now these things all date from either the War of 1812 or the Revolutionary War. So they don't say very nice things about the British, and they certainly don't say very nice things about King George III. So who's visiting here in June of 1939? King George VI, Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mom. And the reason for the trip, and by the way, it's the first time a reigning British monarch has been to the United States. And the reason for the trip is Roosevelt's trying to change public opinion, which is very isolationist at the time. So they're going to come up here from Washington, and before all that happens, Sarah tells her son, you'll be sure to have the servants take those things down. We don't want to have an international incident, it could all be very embarrassing. So it comes the big day, and everybody's here. So the butler opens the door, everybody says hello, well Sarah, so including the cartoons. So Sarah's just hoping nobody will notice. So of course what happens? The first thing that happens is the king looks over there. The second thing that happens is he walks over there. And the third thing that happens is he spends, and we know this from the Secret Service logs, he spends 10 minutes reading them. Well, Sarah's busy screwing herself into the ground. Boy, we done it up big this time. So finally the king turns around, and I guess he's a good sport. He turns around and says, well, Mr. President, I see you have some in your collection I don't have in mine. Everybody happy. Next day is the famous hot dog picnic. And this is all designed to get the U.S. public to have a better feeling about the British and British royalty. So we're going to do something that's typically American. We're going to have a picnic. And at this picnic, we're going to serve traditional American picnic fare called hot dogs. Well, this is all out in the media. It's supposed to be out in the media. And of course, there are all these opinion pieces about how can you dare serve hot dogs to royalty. But that's the whole idea. And we're going to have this picnic at Top Cottage, which is the retreat that Roosevelt built It gets its name because it's the highest point of land on the property. And back in Roosevelt's time, the only way you get there is on an estate road, a dirt road that's pretty steep in places. Well, Roosevelt is going to drive the king and queen to Top Cottage for the picnic. Now what he has is, and you can see it in the library, it's on the lower level, he has a 1936 Ford Phaeton convertible. You drive it with hand controls. Because after Roosevelt got polio in 1921, he had no use of his legs. So you drive the car with hand controls. If you look closely on the steering column, there's this little box. Push a button, out pops a lighted cigarette. Roosevelt smoked Camels about 2 packs a day for a good deal of his life. And some of you, I'm sure, have seen pictures. He always had this cigarette holder for his cigarette. And somebody asked him why, what's with the cigarette holder? And he said, well, his doctor told him to stay as far away from cigarettes as he could. Anyway, so Roosevelt was going to drive the king and queen up to this picnic. In one hand, he's holding a cigarette. In the other hand, he's pointing out the sights. And he's driving with hand controls. Well, anyway, they get up there. King had a hot dog. He said, well, that was pretty good. He'd have another. Queen had a bite, said, well, it was really too big for her mouth. She'd rather have something else. And the next day, the headline in the New York Times says, King eats 2 dogs. And then it was time to come back. King gets in the car. Queen said she'd rather ride with somebody else, please. And then she wrote a letter to her daughter, who's the current Queen Elizabeth II, saying she'd never been so afraid in her life as she was on that ride with Roosevelt driving up to the thing. But, it served its purpose, and that's what it was all about. So I mentioned that Roosevelt first went into politics in 1910. He gets elected New York State Senate. He's a Democrat. This is a very Republican area. Got the right last name. Roosevelt, his cousin's very, very popular, so he won. Getting re-elected in 1912. He's a Democrat. Roosevelt, who's supporting Woodrow Wilson, so he becomes Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Served throughout World War I. 1920, he runs for office. Anybody know what he ran for in 1920? Vice President of the United States. Ticket was a guy named James Cox of Ohio. Of course, they lose big time to Harding and Coolidge. Well, at this point, Roosevelt's a prominent young Democrat. He's in line to look for the presidential nomination on his own right, in not so distant future. 1921, he gets polio. So it's August, he's at their summer place at Campobello, he's not feeling well, he goes up to bed, he never walks again. So, he's out of politics for 7 years, because while he's working to recover the ability to walk. Because he knows that if you're going to run for office, you've got to be able to walk. And there's a reason for that. There's this notion out there that, if you've got a serious physical disability, you've also got a mental disability. Well, he never does recover the ability to walk on his own. What he does do is learn to kind of look like he's walking. And the way he's doing that, he's got braces on both legs. They start above the hips. They go under the feet. Originally, they weigh about almost 8 pounds apiece. He's got a cane in one hand, and he's hanging on to an escort with the other hand. And then using back and stomach muscles, because his hip muscles don't work, he can sort of move along a little bit, move along. It's difficult, it's strenuous. In a sense, it's dangerous, because if anything slips, he's going to fall down on his nose. And in fact, very early on, his escort was very often his oldest son, James, who would say that after they had one of these walks, his father was hanging on to him so tightly that his arm would be black and blue. But, it worked. People don't realize that he can't walk. And so, it wasn't that he didn't want you to know he had polio. In fact, he did a lot to try and help people with polio. So that was all out there. What he didn't want you to know is that he was actually crippled and couldn't walk at all. Now, of course, there are loads of people who know that. Interesting thing is that the media who cover him when he's governor of New York, and he went back into politics in 1928, got elected governor of New York, got reelected in 1930, and then of course he's elected president the next 4 times. The media who cover him when he's governor or when he's in the White House, they all know that he needs a wheelchair and can't walk. Nobody ever publishes a story saying that, and nobody ever publishes a picture of him sitting in his wheelchair. So you can imagine the media doing that today. So how's it work? So first of all, you might have noticed the ramp outside. That's a Park Service ramp. Roosevelt had no ramps here that anybody could see. If you notice, when you go into that main room, there are 5 steps that go down. Underneath the glass platform, you can see a ramp, which is a temporary ramp. So let's say you're coming for a visit, you're a casual visitor, you're not somebody who's supposed to be in on the secret that he can't walk and needs a wheelchair. So you'd be escorted in, you'd be escorted into that room, you'd walk down those 5 steps, there's no ramp there, there's no wheelchair down there. Roosevelt sitting somewhere, probably got his legs crossed, if there weren't, you can't have to do it.
Okay, he's talking about that ramp there. I'm gonna cut the video for a little while because I don't want to make it too long. This is the ramp that he used to get up and down in his wheelchair. Okay, we're going to the second floor of the house now. This looks like a linen closet. Very nice.
And it also has a top room.
This is an elevator that he has installed. And that's one of his wheelchairs. You can't really see it, it's very dark. You can see it maybe from there.
It's kind of like a room.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, you go up on one side.
Got it.
This was the servants' quarters. Can't really see much. I'll have to come back and take a couple of stills of this. This is his boyhood bedroom. President Roosevelt. That was his authentic bed. Can you imagine that?
Look at the desk.
Yeah.
Simple.
Huh. Interesting. All right.
Get a brief tour? Give us a brownie.
This is called the Pink Room. There's a big bed in there for dignitary and guests that came to visit the president. Winston Churchill and King George VI slept in there. And this is the restroom to that room. It looks like it opens up to 2 rooms. This is the chintz room. They added this wing later down the line. Queen Elizabeth stayed here in those 2 beds. Remember the movie? Amazing history here, folks.
the bedrooms for the kids. Nursery,
Guest
playroom,
bedroom.
bathroom. We don't go up to that's the only staircase.
Very simple guest bedroom, I like it. Dresser, bed, table, and another dresser. And that's it.
And have a second way out.
Alright, I'm gonna take a few stills. I'll be back.
Now let me see here.
This is a walk-in closet. Okay, so that was President Roosevelt's bedroom. Some people waiting around, so I don't want to interfere with their.
So what happened, Mom? What happened?
Read the.
It's far away. I can't. Can you tell me? Can you tell me what it is? I can't tell me.
Okay, so that was the president's bedroom, and this was Eleanor's bedroom.
Every half hour. I mean, if I'm
Eleanor slept in this tiny little bed while he had that big old bed on that side. Eleanor's bedroom. Roosevelt's bedroom.
going to the library,
Alright, let's see what else is left here. What's this here, Courtney?
His mother's bedroom.
This is Sarah's bedroom, his mom. She had 2 beds. Okay, so far I think that's the end of the tour for the mansion. I'll double check, but this is Roosevelt, President Roosevelt's home in Hyde Park, New York. I don't know why I keep saying new, but it's Hyde Park, New York. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I think he was president for 4 terms. Room where he was born, President Roosevelt. You know, have to throw this in at the end of the other one. But this is the room that President Roosevelt was born in. And his mother must have slept here. His parents. So yeah. Okay guys, I'm going to just show you another wonderful site here. This is President Roosevelt's rose garden and his burial site, which is right there. Very historic. He died in 1945. During the war, a little bit before the war ended. And Eleanor Roosevelt's buried there. So they're both here. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president, and Anna Eleanor Roosevelt in what they call the Rose Garden. It looks like they have more than roses, so I'll take a peek at some of that for you and go on the other side. And this was the on the side of the mansion that we saw early on, and a lot of homes. This one says 1886. A lot of buildings, rather. So they were living large over here. That looks like it was a greenhouse right there. There's now a couple cottages and little buildings. All right, so this is the Rose Garden and burial site for President Roosevelt. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, they have plants in there actually. Horticulture house. There's the tomb. Okay, I'm not gonna go completely around because it's mostly, well, why not? It's a little hot out here. The next stop, we're gonna stop at the museum and see his car. He couldn't drive with his legs. It was a hand-operated car. Of course, you all know he had polio. So I think we could go out this way actually. Okay, rest in peace, President Roosevelt and Eleanor. Thanks for sharing your home with us. These are all roses, all different colors, all the way through. I should have walked by there, but we could just use our imaginations. That's why it's called the Rose Garden. All different colors. Red, purple, salmon, pink, white. Okay. Freedom Court. There's President Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. Freedom from fear. Okay guys, up next is the Presidential Library and Museum for President Roosevelt. Last but not least, as museums go, they're very detail oriented, so I'm just gonna skim through the important parts and try to bring you that. Let's not make it too long. So yeah, all right, we're gonna go in to Presidential Library and Museum. I guess we'll go through those glass doors over there. I'll be back. Okay, so we are in the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Presidential Library and Museum. We're going to look around. I'm trying not to make it too long. I'll show you some of the scenes. Unemployment, mass unemployment, financial collapse. He dealt with all that. The Social Security, labor laws, archival storage, and these are all from the Presidential Library. This is the images of internment when the Japanese were put in concentration camps. During the war, when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor. Alright, so this room is all related to that. So all of these are images of the people that were put in the concentration camps during the attack, after the attack on Pearl Harbor. There's the concentration camps. Not a very pleasant moment in history, to be quite honest. But stuff happens.
That's one of the things that got us through those hard times. Shikataganai. Nothing can be done. What can we do?
The Japanese people appreciate nature. So eventually the people have to get and put in lawns and gardens.
Anything to kind of beautify, forget about the hardship a little bit.
And they also had a dance band. They were called the Giant Powers. It was a very popular song at the time. Not necessarily.
Alright, so that had to do with the Japanese internment camps. I'm just gonna move along to the next room. Restrooms. And take a drink of water. Very nice cold water at the Roosevelt Presidential Library. This area is from the Great Depression has stated there. There's a film going on. I'm not going to go in there. The poverty, the joblessness, the homelessness. Yeah. Abolish bread lines, vote for Roosevelt. The promise of change. The 1933 inaugural swearing. Okay. Foundations of public life. It says, tells the history of his life. These are relatives: Warren Eleanor, Catherine Eleanor, Isaac Roosevelt, and so forth and so on. Family background. Authentic portraits.
As he reached the podium, leaning heavily on his crutches, the delegates stood to cheer him for 3 minutes.
This was his bassinet. His mother Sarah used it when he was born. Amazing, amazing, amazing history.
Though Al Smith was, for Roosevelt, his marriage was a personal problem, a tribute to his courage. Still, FDR knew that maybe it was a political poison. In those days, physical disability was
This is a rocking horse.
invalids were often hidden from public view. If he were going to resume his career, he needed to be able to move without crutches, to seem to be walking
His
under
crutches, his cane and his
He would learn to do
braces
that at Warm
and
Springs,
polio.
where he turned a rundown resort into the nation's most important rehabilitation center for polio
All
patients.
his canes
He hired
and whatnot.
doctors and physiotherapists and worked out alongside his fellow patients. They were inspired by his radiant optimism and called him Old Dr. Roosevelt. Roosevelt learned from them, too.
Governor, when he was governor. A New Deal, the New Deal. Fighting the Great Depression. These are some of the things he did in the first 100 days. The Emergency Banking Act, Government Economy Act, Abandonment of Gold Standard Security Act, Prorogation of Gold Payment Clauses, Homeowners, and so forth. Jobs and relief, rural reforms. Reaching the people through this radio microphone, NBC. Gifts from people to the president. This is where the depiction of where people used to sit in their homes and listen to his fireside chats. Okay, rural reforms, the NRA. Jobs for youth. The Dust Bowl, rural slums, plains, farms, need trees. 1936 election. And stuff from his second term. Alright, I'm gonna move along. This was the area related to the war. World War II, that is.
In June 1941, the German army invades the Soviet Union. Japan, now allied with Germany, expands its reach into Southeast Asia.
Okay, this is a very, very tedious long, so I'm going to go quickly. 1939, the years, letters, correspondence and stuff. Atlantic Charter Conference, more documentation.
Japan is actually in diplomatic talks with the U.S. Their plans to attack the Pacific are already...
Yesterday, December 7, 1944.
The Japanese government also launched an attack against Malaya, Hong Kong, Guam, the Philippine Islands, Wake Island, and this morning the Japanese attacked Midway Island.
Fearing American industrial might, the Japanese know that they must strike fast and...
This is a very famous saying. You can read it right there. A date which will live in infamy.
I ask the Congress to declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th,
FDR's conversation with America, World War II, fireside chats again, a little bit more elaborate than that other room. FDR, Commander-in-Chief. Okay. Continues downstairs, I'll be back. Roosevelt and Churchill. Well, I might as well.
Our first stop was in Maidenhead. The girls of the Auxiliary Territorial Air Force were lined up in the rain for us to inspect them. They fly practically every type of plane, even the big four-motor bombers. Then we visited the repair shop where there were a few men, but primarily women who were doing repairs and resurfacing planes.
Okay, I'll be back.
As well as working on machines, making the parts.
Okay, somehow I missed this room. This was President Roosevelt's study. His private study, rather. And there's one of the wheelchairs. Right there.
Wow, so nice. So much
Okay, this is in the Presidential Library Museum. Okay, we're going down these stairs to the last part of this Presidential Museum and Library. It looks like it's a lot more of the same of election and war. I'm just going to do a quick clip of this. Yeah. Supposedly he has his car down here somewhere. $1945. And there's his desk. I'll read what it says on the other side. Okay, so this is his desk from the Oval Office in Washington, D.C. Alright, moving right along. Okay, there's another area back here. Exhibit continues. It looks like another movie studio. Okay, so this is the tail end of this tour. This is Roosevelt's car. Well, you can't really see it because there's a lot of glare, but I'll go back here. You can see it a little better there. Okay. It's 1936 Ford.
Yeah.
So this is curving up here? And this is straight here.
No, maybe it says where it used to.
Okay.
I already had that lot.